Good morning, dear students. This is chapter 7, Control and Coordination, and this is third part of the chapter. Already two parts of the chapter we have done. What we are going to do in this third part of the chapter, let me tell you. In this part, we'll do these topics, and that is coordination in plants. And there are two subtopics in coordination in plants, that is response to stimulus, and the next one is movement due to the growth. These topics we will do today in this session. So let me start. Coordination in plants. Already coordination and control in animals we have done, and now you know it very well that animals have a nervous system for controlling and coordinating their activities. But what about plants? Plants neither have a nervous system nor muscles. Then the question is, how do they respond to the stimulus? Here, if I give you example of Chui plant, when we touch the leaves of Chui plant, they begin to fold up and droop. And the next example is when a seed germinates, the root goes down and the stem comes up into the air. How plants are controlling their activities. To get the answer of this question, we are going to attend this session today. Okay. In first example, when we were touching the leaves of Chui, the leaves of sensitive plant, touch me not plant, and these leaves moves very quickly in response to the touch. There is no growth involved in this movement. Did you get my point? Leaves are moving, but there is no matter of growth. In second case, the directional movement of seedling is there and that is caused by growth. The roots are growing into the soil while the leaves, the stem, the shoot part of the plant is growing into the air. Okay, so in first case, movement is there, but this is not the matter of growth. In second case also movement is there, but this is the matter of growth. So there are two types of movement in plant, and the first one is dependent on growth and the second one is independent of growth. Okay, come to the topic immediate response to the stimulus. As I gave you first example of touch me not plant, let us think about that. The sensitive plant, when we are touching the leaves, it is responding very quickly. But in this movement, no growth is involved. Movement is there, but growth is not there. The plant must actually move its leaves in response to touch, not for growth. That is not a natural movement. That is the response of the plant to the touch. But as you know, that plant has no nervous tissue. Plant do not even have muscles tissue also. Then how can it respond? The plant is detecting the touch and after detecting the touch, it is moving in response. So how all these things are happening with the plant, what is the system in the plant, that only we will discuss today in this session. If we think about where exactly the plant is touched and what part of the plant actually moves, it is apparent that movement happens at a point different from the point of touch. Okay. So information that a touch has occurred must be communicated from the point of touch to the point of movement. The plant also use electrical chemical means to convey this information from cell to cell. But unlike in animals, there is no specialized tissue in the plant for conduction of the information. Finally, again, as in animals, some cells must change shape in order for movement to happen. Then only movement in the form of whether the leaves they are folding up or any other type of response is there, we can see. Instead of specialized proteins found in animal muscle cell, plant cell change shape by changing the amount of water in them. Amount of water is changing, it means whether plant is swelling or shrinking. If some amount of water is entering the cells, the cell will swell, and if some water will come out, the cell will shrink. So this is the reason of changing the shape of a plant cell. In the picture you can see, this is the picture of a touch me not plant. When leaf is folding, over here you can see the leaf is folding means this is the region. Decrease of turgor in the parenchyma cell. Okay. And here leaflet is opening means water is entering the cell, the leaf is opening. Water is coming out of the cell, the leaf is shrinking. The cell is shrinking and leaf is folding inside. The another topic is movement due to the growth. Here we will discuss the movement in plant parts, that is the cause of the growth or due to the growth. Okay. Some plants like pea plant, these plants climb up other plants or fences by means of tendrils. These tendrils are sensitive to touch. When they come in contact with any support, the part of the tendril in contact with the object does not grow as rapidly as the part of the tendril away from the object. This causes the tendril to circle around the object and thus cling to it. In animation you can see that this part of the tendril, it is circling around this, taking support, and then it will grow over here. Okay. More commonly, plants respond to stimuli slowly by growing in a particular direction. Why? Because this growth is directional. It appears as if the plant is moving. This response or this movement is known as tropism. So we can define tropism as the response or orientation of the plant to a stimulus that acts with greater intensity from one direction than another. It may be achieved by active movement or by structural change. These are the types of tropism: phototropism, geotropism, chemotropism, hydrotropism, thigmotropism, chromatropism, or galvanotropism, or it is known as electrotropism also. Phototropism is response to the light, while geotropism is response of the plant parts to the gravity. Chemotropism is response to the particular substance inside the plant, while hydrotropism means the response of plant part to the water. Thigmotropism means the response of plant part to mechanical stimulation, and traumatropism means the response to wound lesion or any injury. Electrotropism or galvanotropism means the response of plant part to the electric current. So one by one I'll tell you these tropisms in details. The first one is phototropism. Phototropism is the orientation of a plant or any other organism in response to the light. Phototropism is of two types. Number one, positive phototropism, and number two, negative phototropism. Positive phototropism means the movement of plant part towards the source of light, while negative phototropism means the movement away from the source of light. Here you can see the shoot part of the plant is bending towards the light. So that is positive phototropism, while the roots will grow in opposite direction. So that is negative phototropism. Okay. Now here it is geotropism. The growth of the parts of the plant in response to the force of gravity is called geotropism. Geotropism is also of two types. One is positive geotropism and the another one is negative geotropism. Positive geotropism means the downward growth of the roots, and negative geotropism means the upward growth of the plant shoot. Here you can see the shoot part of the plant is growing in upward direction, opposite to the gravity. So that is negative geotropism, while the root part of the plant is growing towards the gravity, and that is positive geotropism. Now here it is chemotropism. The growth of the organism navigated by chemical stimulus. from outside of the organism is called chemotropism. Chemotropism is observed in bacteria, plants, and fungi. A chemical gradient can influence the growth of the organism in a positive or negative way. The example of chemotropism is the growth of pollen tubes towards ovules. The another type of tropism is hydrotropism. We can define it as the plant's growth in which the direction of growth is determined by the gradient in water. Means the part of the plant will grow towards the water, that is hydrotropism. Hydro means water, a tropism means involuntary orientation by an organism that involves turning or curving as a positive or negative response to the stimulus, and that is why it is known as hydrotropism, because here the roots of the plant are growing towards the water gradient. The next one is thigmotropism. The directional response of a plant organ to touch or physical contact with a solid object is called thigmotropism. This directional response is generally caused by induction of some pattern of differential growth. This phenomena is clearly illustrated by climbing tendrils of some plant such as sweet pea. Here you can see the tendrils are responding to this physical touch. That is thigmotropism. Okay. Traumatropism means the growth or bending of organism in relation to a wound or injury. And electrotropism means plant growth in response to electric signals and fields. So these were the tropisms. Electrical impulses are an excellent means to transfer the information, but there are limitations to use of electrical impulses. What are those limitations? Firstly, they will reach only those cells that are connected by nervous tissues. Not each and every cell in the body. That is the first limitation. And the second one is, once an electrical impulse is generated in a cell and transmitted, the cell will take some time to reset. So that is the second one, second limitation. What is the second limitation? The cell will take some time to reset its mechanism before it can generate and transmit a new impulse. So these are the two limitations while the informations are transferring in the form of electrical impulses. In other words, we can say simply that cells cannot continually create and transmit electrical impulses. It is thus the most multicellular organisms use another means of communication between the cells, and that is chemical communication. If instead of generating an electrical impulse, stimulated cell release a chemical compound, this compound would diffuse all around the organic cells. If other cells around have the means to detect this compound using special molecules on the surfaces, then they would be able to recognize information and even transmit it. So this is the chemical messenger, and easily they are able to transfer the information. And this process will be slow, of course, because it is occurring due to the help of the chemical messengers. But it can potentially reach all the cells of the body regardless of nervous connections, and it can be done steadily and persistently. That is, this process is more effective. These chemical compounds are known as hormones, and these hormones are used by multicellular organisms for control and coordinations, and this type of process shows a great deal of diversity as we would expect. Different plant hormones help to coordinate growth, development, and response to the environment. These hormones are synthesized at the place away from where they act and simply diffuse to the area of action. Auxin is a plant hormone. When growing plants detect light, a hormone called auxin synthesized at the shoot tip, and it helps the cell to grow longer. When light is coming from one side of the plant, auxin diffuses towards the shady side of the plant. Okay, and this concentration of auxin stimulates the cell to grow longer on the side of the shoot which is away from the light. And that is why the plant appears to bend towards the light. So here you can see how auxin is helpful in growth of the plant. This is the plant shoot. Okay, and bright sunlight is coming this side. And see, follow this red marker. This portion is not getting proper sunlight. So what will happen? The auxin is deposited over here. Okay, and now shoots are positively phototropic now due to the effect of the auxin, and it will bend towards the sunlight. Okay. Another example of plant hormones are gibberellins. Gibberellins also help in growth of the system, the growth of the stem like auxin. So gibberellin and auxin both are growth promoter. On the other hand, cytonin also promote growth in the form of cell division. Okay, this is natural. Then they are present in greater concentration in areas of rapid cell division such as in fruits and seeds. So auxin, gibberellin and cytonin, they are the growth promoter hormones in plants. But on the other hand, plants also need some signals to stop growing. They cannot keep growing lifetime. At some parts of the plants need to be stopped over there. And so there are some hormones also that inhibits the growth. Abscisic acid is one of that hormone that inhibit growth, and its effects include wilting of leaves. Now here are some questions from your textbook. Let me read the questions for you and let me answer them. What are plant hormones? The question number one is. Answer of question number one is here. They are organic substances produced at certain sites of the plant and are translocated to other parts based on the requirement. The second question is, how is the movement of leaves of sensitive plant different from the movement of a shoot towards light? Here is the answer. These are the differences between the movement of a sensitive plant and the movement of the shoot towards light. The first difference is it does not depend on the direction of the stimulus, while it depends on the direction of stimulus applied. Sensitive plant, when it is moving, this movement is known as nestic movement. And when the plant is growing towards the light, that is known as tropic movement. In sensitive plant, touch is the stimulus, while in growing the plant shoot, light is the stimulus. The movement in sensitive plant is caused by the sudden loss of water from the swelling at the base of the leaves, while the movement in shoot towards light caused by unequal growth on the two sides of the shoot. The movement in sensitive plant is not a growth movement, while the movement in shoot towards the light is a growth movement. The movement in sensitive plant due to the touch occurs very fast. That is a rapid movement. On the other hand, the movement in the shoot of the plant towards light is slow movement. Okay, so this is the difference between the movement in the leaves of sensitive plant and the movement of a shoot of a plant towards light. Now the question number 3 is example of plant hormone that promotes growth. Auxin, gibberellin, cytonin, they are the growth promoters in the plant. Question number 4 is how do auxin promote the growth of a tendril around a support? As you know, we have discussed in previous slides that auxins are present at the tip of the tendril. And when tendril attached around any support, their growth is slowed down as auxins are sensitive to touch, and this makes them move to the other side of the tip to get the support, and this makes the other side grow faster than the side of the tendril in contact with the support, and the tendril bends toward the support. The last question is design an experiment to demonstrate a hydrotropism. Okay, you can design an easy experiment. This is the experiment, very simple experiment. Even at your home also you can do with the help of some soil, a seed, and a water pot. What you are supposed to do? You just plant a seedling in the vessel. That vessel contains soil, and adjacent to the seedling put a porous pot that is containing water. And now leave the setup for few days. Within few days, what do you see? You see, this is the porous pot. Water is leaking out from this pot, and you will observe that roots are bending towards the source of water. Why? They are seeking water. That is why they are bending towards the source of water. And the conclusion of this experiment is plant shows hydrotropism. Okay. Now I think you got the answers of these questions. So in this session only this much was there. Now we'll meet in part 5, and in part 5 we will discuss about hormones in the animals, and that will be the last topic of the chapter. By then you can revise this session. Thank you students. We'll meet in part 5.